riders for all the work they've done. One last thing.
Many of you already know our first guest speaker, Sandy Collier, is a brilliant reining and rein cow horse trainer from Buellton. She's an articulate speaker, an excellent teacher, and a very cool person. Sandy Collier's successful horse show record is a reflection of her dedication, talent, and integrity as a horse trainer. She was the first and only woman horse trainer to win the prestigious NRCHA, which is the National Rank Cow Horse Association, World Champion Snafflebit Futurity. She also won an NRCHA World Champion Snafflebit Futurity. She was co-champion. She was actually champion on Colin Hunsicker's mare. So that's fun. She has been an NRCHA Stallion Stakes champion, NRHA Independent.
She missed it.
She has ranked among the year's top 5 ranked cow horse, all ages, all division riders, and is ranked currently in the top 10 for NRCHA earnings. So please welcome Sandy.
David's name was on a lot of those checks. I've never been called entertainment tonight, but tonight I'll take it as a compliment. So don't be put off by all this paperwork. The writing, the print is really big. I'm still in denial about needing glasses, but I'm going to give it my best shot here. So I recently wrote a book called Reining Essentials, and many of you here have been kind enough to buy it. I appreciate that. Thank you. David asked me to speak a little bit about the book, and so I chose a chapter called Riding Smart, because it pretty much applies to all the equestrian disciplines, and we're so varied here in San Diego Valley that I thought it would be appropriate. We all want to maximize the time that we spend with our horses, and so I'm going to give you 20 strategies that I utilize, and if you do too, you will become a much better rider. Your horse will be way more broke. And but the most important thing is that you'll build a relationship with your horse that's based on confidence and trust, and that's what's really the most important thing. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody here that has some pearl of wisdom, some nugget that they utilize in their training that's really helped them. I already see Lita's hand up back there. What, Lita? Go ahead. She's our plant.
It's that you make what you want the horse to do easy, and that you make what the horse wants to do that's not right more difficult.
Oh, very good. Okay, now that's right on the money. And so I have an official SandyCollier.com sweat scraper. Guaranteed not to break.
Thank you.
So what Lita said was we want to make what we want really easy and rewarding for our horse. What we don't want difficult. We're going to go into that a bunch. Does anybody else have another thought on that? Judy?
Oh, that's fine.
Just throw one out there.
Just be patient and know what you're trying to accomplish before you start.
Excellent. Okay, so Judy gets one too. Patience is always a virtue. Now, what you guys don't realize is that I'm training you, and I'm using a principle that I use with my horses all the time. I'm making it really easy for you to volunteer, and I'm making it safe. I'm making a good learning environment. Because, say Judy said, well, you got to be patient. I said, oh my God, that is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. What are you thinking? Does anybody else have another idea? Sitting on your hands. Horses get the same way. If we press our leg on them and we say, I want you to move over, and they go forward, they go backward, who knows what they're going to do. And we beat them up for volunteering a response, pretty soon they don't volunteer anymore. Okay? They get nasty, they get mad. What I call stutter. When you intimidate a horse enough times, when they've tried to volunteer and you intimidate them, you tell them no, pretty soon they start to stutter. And you'll ask for something, they'll see if they go, okay, deer in the headlight look. Okay, we really don't want that. That's not a good learning environment. I think all of us grew up in school. We had maybe a really bad math teacher who intimidated us, bullied us, humiliated us, right? Did anybody like math? If you had that kind of teacher, you probably hated math. But maybe you had an English teacher who made it easy for you to come up with the right answers and told you how good you were and how clever you were, and by golly, you just thought you were pretty good at English, and you really liked English. And it's the same thing with horse because if you put that out to a horse that way, they will always choose the easy way. And if you make your way the easy way, then you have that much more chance that they're going to choose what you want, and then you can reward them for it, which is a very good thing. But horses aren't motivated by sweat scrapers. Well, sometimes they are. But what does motivate a horse? Does anybody have any ideas? I got one more sweat scraper left. Absolutely, reward. Here you go. I got 2 minutes training. Okay, reward. But now, what is reward? Reward can be something as simple as just like letting them stand, just leaving them alone, petting them, talking to them nice. But the very most important thing, and it's probably the most important thing I'm going to say here tonight, and so everybody listen, you'll be quizzed on this later. Horses learn by the release of pressure, not the application of it. Okay, now what that means is if I'm going to back my horse up, I'm going to teach my horse how to back up, okay? Put some pressure on the reins, bump with my feet, my horse goes forward, sideways, whatever. As soon as they take 1 step back and I release the reins, they go. Then I pick up the reins again, bump with my feet, and the horse goes, you know what, last time she did that and I took a step back, she left me alone. So the horse takes another step back and you release. Pretty soon your horse is backing really willingly off the bit not because you're pulling on the reins and bumping them with your feet, but because you leave them alone when they do. And so they learn by the release of that pressure and not by the application of it. That is like so important, and it's nothing that you guys don't know. It's maybe just a little bit different way of looking at it. Another very close relative to that is, well, actually, you know what? We could quit now because those are the 2 most important things I know. Horses learn by the release of pressure, not the application of it. Make what you want easy and rewarding what you don't want difficult. Okay, if you just take 2 things out of here, that's what you do. But David asked me to talk for 20 minutes, so keep on rolling. Anyway, a very close relative to that is don't make your horse hate anything that you want him to enjoy doing. So let's go to, how about spinning? We're teaching a horse to turn around. Okay, now, a horse isn't turning the way we want him to turn. If you beat him up in the turn, are they going to want to turn around again? No. So if a horse isn't turning the way you want him to turn or isn't stopping the way you want him to stop, it's because something isn't working. Some body part isn't working right. So quit doing the maneuver you're working on. Fix the part that doesn't work, and then let them do the maneuver. Okay, then the maneuver becomes their reward and not their punishment. So your horse is spinning, he's not spinning fast enough, he's probably not moving off your outside leg, not moving off your outside rein. Quit spinning. Side pass him, get into him, punish him, make him move off your leg, make him move off your rein, and then allow him to turn around. Then he's like, oh, turning's a good thing, okay? You don't want to go faster or wronger. You don't want to just, start harpooning him while you're spinning so that you can go faster or wronger. But if you allow them to then do that, then they start to volunteer. And that's what we really want them to do, is volunteer what we want them, we want to stack the deck in our favor so that they're volunteering what we want. And then we make it our idea. So right now you guys are utilizing a really important training strategy too, because you're sitting here absorbing my 30+ years of hard-won wisdom. Okay, you're assimilating all the things that has taken me a really, really long time to figure out in 30 minutes. Okay, that's really smart. And we have lots of things that we can utilize these days: DVDs, books, going to clinics. These things weren't available back when I was learning. I mean, back when there were dinosaurs. Back in the dark ages when I was learning, we had all these behind-the-barn tricks, right? And you didn't teach anybody your tricks. You shouldn't want to have to go beat that person. But now everybody's helping everybody learn, and we're just, the bar keeps raising and raising. And it's getting really exciting. The transference of knowledge is pretty amazing. And I'm really happy to be part of it. But we don't have to reinvent the wheel, soak it up from somebody that knows. We have assistant trainer programs now. Those didn't happen back then. We slaved for trainers, but they never taught us anything. But take Tina, she's my assistant back there, doing the video. She can go to work for somebody, and in a couple of years, assimilate their 30 years plus. Go to work for somebody else, assimilate their 30 years plus. By the time she's 28 or 29, she's got like 3 lifetimes of expertise under her belt. She's got her whole lifetime left to go. So that's a really cool thing that we've got going on now that certainly wasn't invented standing there at the hitch rack, and you need your horse to move over so you can pick his foot up, and you poke him with the hoof pick or the brush or your hand or whatever, and he doesn't move, and you let that be okay. Then when you get on and you have to open the first gate on the trail, and you press him with your leg and he doesn't move over, it's not his fault, okay? You untrained him at the hitch rack. So don't expect him to do what you untrained him to do at the hitch rack later on down the line. And I call that lying to a horse. Because if you tell him that sometimes that the pressure on the side needs to move away, but sometimes you don't really care, how is he supposed to ever make the right choice, okay? He's like 50-50. Does she mean it or doesn't she mean it? And guess what? He's always going to choose the easy one, which is always going to be the wrong one, and then he's going to get in trouble. And that's not fair. So we want to be really fair to our horses, so don't lie to him. If you want him to whoa every time you say that word, then don't say that word in conversation when you're riding him if you don't want him to stop, okay? If you say whoa, whoa means whoa. Otherwise, it's just not fair. We gotta play fair. So all these random moments add up to like tons and tons of really good training. But we have to be really conscious when we're with our horse and really utilize those things. We want to set him up to succeed, to find the right answer, to choose the right answer. And here's something that a friend of mine from Australia said really well, and I can't say it any better, so I'm just going to plagiarize this when you write it. I'm going to verbally plagiarize it. Okay. A horse has to understand what you want and accept it, and accept it to the point where he will volunteer it before you can put the rules in. And by the rules, I mean, say we're working on stopping. Our horse has to understand that and be willing to stop every time we sit down and say, whoa, before we can say, well, but you know, we want you to stop on your butt, we want you to get up off the bridle, we want you to back up straight. Okay, once he gets all the rules in, then you can put the speed on. And if you do it in any other order, all bets are off. Because he's going to be confused, he's going to be resentful, but if he understands it, he's willing to volunteer it, he accepts it, he understands the rules, then you can hold his little feet to the fire and go fast and do whatever it is you want to do. So let's talk about stopping. So if we want to set him up to succeed, and he's nice and fresh, just out of the barn, you put him in one circle, that probably wouldn't be the time when you want to work on stopping, right? Look until he's good and tired, and he's looking to stop. He's like, "Ooh, when is this ever going to get over with?" And when he's looking to stop, then go, hey, whoa, let him stop, make a big fuss, let him sit there, praise him. Get him to volunteer that whenever you sit and relax, that he gets to stop and he gets to sit and relax, and that's a really good thing. Then you can say, okay, now you got that down. Now I want you to stop on your butt, I want you to back up a bit, I want you to stand on your head. You know, whatever it is you want him to do, that's the time to put those rules in. Then you get to go fast and say whoa and see if he can slide or, you know, do what the big guys do. Okay? But don't do it in any other order. All bets are off if you do. Okay, well there's 6 strategies so far. Are you also with me? Everybody good? Okay. I say be a contrarian. And what I mean by that is, if your horse wants to go left, you go right. Your horse wants to go to the head of the line, ride at the back. Your horse wants to trot, you make him walk. You always insert your authority every opportunity you get. Horses understand, they respect authority. That's how their whole herd thing works. So every opportunity that you get, just sort of put those parameters in. They like it, they crave it, they actually do. And you know what? Horses crave leadership, and if you don't stand up and be the leader, he's gonna. So you got to, every chance you get, go ahead and put that in there. make sure you got a clean bill and then go ahead and press on through there. If it's over your head, go to a trainer. You know, an hour at a trainer is a whole lot better than having to send them off for a month after you've gotten more your rears up and, you know, rolls over and everything else, so. You own 2 horses. You own a left horse and you own a right horse. Now, we only have to feed and clean up after one of them, but you gotta train both of them. Okay, you gotta train both sides. I see some of you looking at me. If you've taught your horse how to open and shut a gate to the left, that doesn't mean he's gonna automatically know how to open and shut the gate to the right. They have to be taught. You have to train both sides. There's a stiff side and a hollow side. It's not good or bad, it just is what it is, and they both have to sort of be approached differently, and I've got a whole section in my book about that if things like that interest you. But just be aware of it. Just because you train a horse to do something, you teach him to turn around to the left, doesn't mean he's going to turn around to the right. They've got to be trained on both sides. You have to be precise in your training. It's kind of like the computer adage, garbage in, garbage out. Okay, we only want to put good stuff in because what we put in is going to come out. We want to be sure it's good stuff. And for optimal performance, we want to be sure that, you know, when you enter something in your web browser, got to enter every single letter just right, because if you enter one letter off, there is no telling where in cyberspace you're going to end up. You could end up in a bad place. So you want to be sure that you put things in exactly the same every time, especially when they're green. And as they get more and more broke, they'll cover for you. Mary Dosick had an amateur that came out and looked at a really broke bridle horse of mine, and he really didn't know what he was doing. He was such a cute guy, though. But he got this horse to do everything. And he said, you know, it's like playing pool on a table with great big wide pockets. I just sort of aim him at what I want him to do, and he does it. You know, he just kind of go like that, and the horse will go, oh, he must have been spinning. And you turn around. Now, most of us don't get to ride a horse that's that broke. But they do end up doing that down the line. But in the beginning, it's got to be the same every time for them, okay? And we want to be sure that we teach in gradient, small, bite-sized steps, you know, that he can really understand and get a hold of. And if you make it too big a gradient for him, and he starts to get nervous, they tell you they don't stab you. If they do, you want to go back to the very last thing that he did really well. The very last thing he understood that he was really comfortable with, go back, and then make it smaller steps to get to where you want to go. They're real simple that way, but you have to listen to them. And along with that, if they don't get something when you're presenting it one way, you know, be sure that you're flexible enough to try another way. There are lots of different ways you can teach a horse how to do something, and the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better, you know, the better and the quicker you're going to be able to teach a horse how to do something. But it's not my way or the highway. Okay, if they don't get something when you present it a certain way, try it a little bit different. Try it, you know, just kind of experiment around. They're very forgiving. Yes.
Could you give an example of that?
Okay, I have had horses that couldn't get, when I sit and let my hair out, to stop. You know, it just doesn't make sense to them. Or maybe they don't ever get the word. So those kind of horses, maybe you have to try something different with. You have to love them until they're kind of tired. Let your hair out, sit down and say, whoa, pick your hands up, stop them real soft, break them down maybe first for a little bit. If they won't stop them a little more aggressively. If they still won't stop them, back them up. Some horses are lazy, and as soon as you let your hair out, they're all about stopping. But you got to try all kinds of different things till you hit on the one that makes sense to them, and then just kind of go with it. And it may not make sense to them the next day. You know, you got to be. Does that answer your question? Does anybody else have a question about anything we've covered so far? Thank you for raising your hand and volunteering. I appreciate that. I'd be afraid to. Okay, I say ride the horse you're riding. You know, dance with the guy you go to dance with. If you have to ride, you know, to your horse's ability, to your level of training, your degree of expertise. Just because you've seen someone else doing something doesn't mean that your horse can or should be able to do that. Some things are breed specific. You wouldn't go take a quarter horse and go try to cross the desert. You wouldn't take an Arab and go to calf roping. You know, I mean, there's some things that are you can get it. I didn't say you could get it done, but there are easier ways to get it done. So, you know, work with the animal that you're working with, and try to stick with the things that your horse is bred to do and enjoys doing. Because there are some great Arabian cow horses. Matter of fact, I've ridden a couple. They were the cowiest horses I've ever ridden, but they didn't have enough butt and get in the ground to really hold, you know, a big
so they're limited, so you ride the horse you're riding. You know, you compete on the level that your horse is able to compete at. And the plan that you have in your mind for the day for that horse may not be what you're gonna end up working on. I had Gal come all the way down from Oregon to film a DVD on lead changes, and the horse that I was gonna show, couldn't remember how to move off my leg. So we did a whole DVD on teaching a horse how to get off your leg and yield to pressure and side pass and, you know, do all these different things, because that's just what was happening that day. So, you know, we're willing to change your plan around a little bit. We all know the saying that timing is everything, and in training a horse more so than anything, because the release is the reward. So if you don't release it at the right moment, you may be rewarding something entirely different than you had in mind. Okay, so we're backing our horse up, and he starts to take a step back, and he sticks his head up in the air, and he opens his mouth, but he's still backing a step or two, and we release. Okay, we taught him to back up. We taught him to back up with his head upside down, his mouth wide open. So next time you pick up your reins and you ask him to back up, he's like, okay. That is what you rewarded me for, so that must be what you want. That's where the release came. They remember the very last thing that they were doing before the release came, before the reward came. So you got to be really, really careful about what you reward. They're just like kids, though. You know, you want to, if you do need to punish them, you want to punish the thought and not the horse. Okay, you want to punish if they're thinking, you know, bad things and not going to do something, but you don't want to whoop on them too much. You don't want to make them intimidated. So great timing is what makes great trainers, and you know that's why some people can teach a horse something quick, anything, whatever, quicker than someone else, and that's only because their timing is better. Their release, their moment of release. For me, I like to think that I'm actually releasing. I'm rewarding the thought. My horse thinks about backing. He's just kind of in this spot. See, that's the first release I'll give him. Then the next time I give him those set of cues, he's like thinking that, and then I'll make him take that step, and then I reward that. And then pretty soon I've got him going, yeah, oh, this is so easy, you know. I mean, you can ask for as many steps as you want. Then you say, okay, but now you've got the back up down, but I want you to back straight, I want you to back fast. You know, I mean, all those things, all those rules. That's the time you put those in. Then you can just go cut backwards and show off. Okay, so I'm going to say it one more time because it's so important that horses will learn from the release of pressure, not the application of it. But they also learn from repetition, and so do we. So I wanted to just mention briefly that researchers say that in order to acquire any kind of expertise in any field, 10,000 hours. Whoo, that's a lot of time. Okay, but if you add a horse to that, who has its own agenda, its own thoughts, its own limitations, I think you got to double that number. And then you go add a cow who has no dog in the fight at all. I mean, the cow does not care about you or the horse or anything else. And I think that you're talking about tripling it. But I think by riding smart, you can really, really whittle that back down to a doable number of hours. So I don't want to discourage anybody. We can chop that number way down by utilizing these strategies. It takes a lot of time and practice and feel, but don't feel guilty about making your horse toe the line. If you were looking for a job and you picked up the San Ynez paper and there was an ad in there and it said 1 hour work a day, 2 square meals, housekeeping, new shoes every 6 weeks, room. Would you all apply for the job? Okay, so don't feel bad about asking your horse 1 hour a day to toe the line. And you know what? If it's a feeding time and that's the only time you have to ride, so what? Ride him. Okay? If he's got to go away from his buddies, so what? Don't feel guilty. Okay? He's got a great, great life. The last strategy I want to talk about, Greg Ward told me once, and I don't know how many of you know him, he's a great horseman. He said if you shoot for 1% improvement a day, you'll have 100% improvement in 100 days. That's very doable and a very worthy goal. I mean, these horses, they're amazing animals that we choose to spend our time and our lives with, and the thing that makes them even more amazing is they're willing to do what we want, and there's so much